All right, we finally got the live. I'm gonna go ahead and just share it real quick. I tried doing a schedule share and every time crazy things happen, so I quit doing it. All right, we finally got the live. I'm gonna go ahead and just share it real quick. I tried doing a schedule share and every time crazy things happen, so I quit doing it. I know.
Kind of like that. That's one of the crazy things.
Oh, every time, even if I mute that before I start, it'll still do it to me. I can't even explain it. Very interesting. I'll just say that.
I think your field is very electronically charged.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm not complaining about that though. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You're a system buster. That's why.
I know. Well, XSSP makes a difference too, I guess. I don't know.
I was going to ask you about that.
You knew it, didn't you?
Well, I was wondering if you could tell me a little bit more about it, like your experience with it.
Well, obviously I have trouble with some of the memories, but I know they took me when I was young. That's when it started. I remember some of it. I was a captain actually on the moon base, and I got memories of being taken when I think it started when I was like 6. So I wished I knew more, but it's pretty wild. And oddly enough, I don't generally talk about myself too much, but I mean, I was SSP and I know it. So
yeah,
someday I think it needs to be shared more.
Yeah, definitely. For sure. Because I mean, depending on who or what you were, because do you feel like it was more of like an abduction?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, did I pre-agree with that before I came here? Possibly. I'm not sure about that. But you know, it really caused me problems throughout school and all that. And it would take us a while to go over that. And I did a couple regressions on it. So that kind of helped me some. It's pretty interesting though. I think there's a lot more of us than what people realize. I don't think people know it yet until that switch gets flipped. I'm not sure they know what they've done, like past lives and all of that stuff. But luckily I've seen a few of those and I knew about that before I really knew about the SSP. Of course, I remember them blocking my memory. So it's like, yeah, we can do a show on that sometime. You might be able to help me remember some of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just seeing too that I think you have tags in your field, like locator tags and stuff, where you still get hit with like astral frequency, astral attack.
Yeah, I've been followed physically as well. Yeah, from above. Yeah. Yeah, I know when they're there. It's pretty weird. It is what it is, right? But now the implants I disabled, I know that. So that doesn't mean there isn't other things.
Yeah. Tags, I think tags resurface themselves a lot when we go back into the astral field. So especially if we go unconscious when we go into the astral, which most of us do for a period of time every time we go into the sleep realm. So it's just such a tumultuous field right now. There's so much battle in the planetary collective astral field.
Yeah.
And it's really amping up.
Oh, absolutely. I feel it amping. It's like, yeah, it's going to be some glorious times. It's just going to take us a little bit to get there. I mean, what's time really, right? You know, we look at time different than what it really is. So anyway, yeah, we can do a show on that. I'm okay with that. You probably would help me a lot, and that's what it's all about. So the Patriot Dave here, we're just getting started, and we have Indigo Angels. What she goes by, I don't know. Is that what you use for your name? Is that it then?
Yeah, so I go by IndigoAngel here on YouTube. My name is Amanda DeMarco, and you can find about me and about the things I do at my website, IndigoAngel222.com. I consider myself to be a global planetary grid reader. I guess you could say a psychic in terms of the planetary logos. I used to do a lot of psychic work. I still do a lot of readings. I do Starseed origin readings. I do Akashic record readings. I pulled a lot away from tarot and actually having psychic one-on-one exchanges with people, because I started feeling myself intuitively just pulling away from that type of energy work and slowly starting to focus more on the grids as I really attuned more to the indigo type 1 within me, which is where, that divine holographic blueprint essentially comes online within yourself. And then you can ultimately see that and read that and then attune that to the planetary consciousness. And so once a lot of those abilities came online, I was able to remote more definitively and more masterfully into the planetary structures. And so that was when I started really taking an interest to grid work. And so that's where I focus a lot of my attention now when it comes to my psychic abilities.
Yeah, and I caught the one you did of the Georgia Guidestones. So I know you did 2 or 3 of them, but I think the last one you did on it, and it was intriguing. And everybody thinks it's just easy just to tear the place down or whatever. It's not that easy, but it can be done.
Yeah.
For humans to understand the energy, I mean, there's maybe 10% that kind of understand it, and that's not a high number, honestly. When you understand it, you can do anything you want and be anything you want. You become powerful, and that's where we're going. No doubt about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is like a good question that I've had people ask me, well, why don't they just be torn down? Well, I'm not sure if it's that easy, if them standing there is, a part of the divine blueprint in a way, some way itself. It is very frustrating, though, for those of us who are fully awakened to this knowledge and who can see and understand and decode the meaning of what has been imprinted onto those stones, and can see that the stoning concept itself has been hijacked, by the Freemasons and the secret societies that basically paid for the resurrection of all of those things. The Pythias of Georgia, I believe, was the secret society group down in Georgia that was a part of their resurrection. But yeah, it's definitely it's frustrating because you see this imprint of this reset mentality of more control systems, more militarization, more preying upon the vulnerable and our indigos and our empaths, basically given the manuals and the blueprints right underneath these stones themselves for them to just reset this at a great reset.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it's pretty horrific, the things they've done, and where they almost had us. Honestly, it's crazy. It's ridiculous. It's sad. It's sickening. But we're gonna win. I mean, there's no doubt that the bright light's gonna win here.
Yeah.
And I fully think we're winning, but there's still obviously some dark entities on this earth that people think they're all gone. I don't. It's not that easy. I wished it was.
Yeah, I think there's multiple timelines running. I think the majority of the collective simply just exists on the fear-based timelines and exists on the reversal timelines and the timelines that feed into the fallen realms and into the fallen systems. And I think that gets more energetically charged when we go through certain gateways, certain stellar alignments, certain alignments to the metagalactic core. There's times in March where those fallen portals actually open up more. And so we're really inundated and more immersed in the reality of dark realms, the shadow realms, the unseen and unconscious realms of humanity, to manifest and play itself out. And it does feel like sometimes like it's overtaking or it's overpowering. But it's really just about the frequency we hold within. So, I mean, you're like a dial, you're like a control, radial template, basically, where you can just tune the dial and you actually tune yourself right out of that timeline.
Yeah,
frequency wise. So it's
I
like,
know what you mean. Yeah, you're right. That's a good
yeah.
analogy. And I say a dimmer switch on a light, it's the same difference that you did. Yeah,
Yeah. And I think the more we attune, to the light templating, that's actual structural encodement that gets built within the grid structures within our body. And then once we can hold that for long periods of time, we can co-create realities from those light template matrices and create entirely two new earths, entirely new worlds that we get to walk in and exist in. Some of them we are collectively creating together,
yes.
like the new future Lemuria and the light cities that are going to be built over the next 200 years. So there are a lot of positive things to look forward to if you're holding that high turn on the dial, basically.
I love your analogy. Honestly, I love that. And it's funny you said 200 years because we did a thing on it. And it was like 100 years for us to be like kind of where we want to be. So that's really wild. I mean, it's a lot longer than people think to be where it's all bright and happiness and etc. Right? It takes some time. We're
Yeah.
gonna get there though.
Well, because the entire destruction codes, the control matrices. So one of the control matrices that I was going to bring up today in this show was the fallen dragon grids, because it really does pertain to the Disney decode that we're kind of going to dive into, talking about, some of the dark webbing of Disney, what's going on in the current events, also what it's connected to globally. In terms of the grids, it's really what I've come to notice after charting a lot of the global Disney locations worldwide to see where they're at, what they look like, what structures do they form, what do they make out, what ley lines are they sitting next to, which come to find out, all 6 of the largest Disney locations in the world all sit along the 33-degree parallel, except for the one in Paris.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. I mean, I know you did a lot of research last week leading up for today, and I guess people don't realize how much you put into that time wise. Because when I took this to you, you're like, well, yeah, that sounds great. Well, I'll investigate it and do my thing and put everything together that I can. It doesn't just happen overnight, people, it's a lot of work.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for saying that.
It's a fact. I mean, yeah, you can start wherever you want. I'm good with that. I'm pretty easy to.
Well, as soon as you mentioned Disney, like everything, like all my spidey senses just like went up. I was just like, oh, Disney,
So did mine.
because yeah.
And you and I know that they're no good. Obviously, some dark entities there, but we really haven't put out a lot of the stuff hasn't been put out yet until today.
Yeah, right. Yeah. We're getting this party started, me and you. I like that. So yeah, I think as many of us know here, is that the real cultural war that's happening right now is over our children. And it has a lot to do with I call them the corporate greedy bastards
Yes.
of the magical kingdom, right? Like,
Yeah.
they have a lot to do with hypnotizing. They're working with hypnotizing technologies that they're using for modified mind control. It also has a lot to do with extending into the much more global pediatric crisis that we have going on, when it comes to the trafficking, when it comes to the siphoning and the hijacking. And it's kind of like a hierarchical monopoly that extends down from this fallen dragon grid. You have the control matrices of the fallen dragon grid. Then you have on each end of that grid templating, which we're going to look at in a minute, because I'm going to show you my map and I'll explain everything I'm saying.
Sure.
But on each end of those grid networks are artificial intelligent singularity vortexes that are running in silicon-based technology. Okay, and this is running artificial intelligent, I call it silver blood, AI blood. It's running this matrice. And that's a part of the hierarchical down tier that is distorting gender laws, right? Universal laws, fracking and cracking creation codes, distorting incarnations and souls as they come in with gender distortions. There's a lot of that playing out as well, which is like a whole other issue going on. But this is being handed down from AI, basically. It's an AI agenda to basically distort gender laws, create gender misery, gender confusion, and and Disney's just kind of a chink in the chain, but it's definitely a big one.
Well, and I think it's a big one because it attacks the children more so than any other corporation, as you want to call them. And it's supposed to be for the good of the kids to take them there and have fun, you know, but it's quite the opposite. I know people that wouldn't take their kids there 10 years ago. So subconsciously they knew something wasn't right.
Yeah. It's there's so much with them. Well, at least in terms of the current situation, right? Like current events, like we have this bill that has came down. They're fighting it in Florida, DeSantis, and it's basically a bill where they want to discuss gender identity and teach, you know, gender things to children, kindergarten through 3rd grade. And Florida's like saying no, like this isn't going to happen, and Disney's saying yes, we want this to happen. And it's kind of like this is what pulls them into this mass distortion and makes us really start to look at Disney and start to decode that dark web of Disney and be like, okay, because that's a red flag.
So I guess it's common sense saying by changing these genders and telling them this and confusing them, I can't even talk, getting them confused. It doesn't let them, you know, have their power that they have within themselves, I guess, like fear and confusion, right? It all goes hand in hand.
It really does. The thing is like, okay, so I think transgenderism, and it has a lot to do with this as well, right? Because transgenderism is an offshoot of transhumanism. It's a symptom of transhumanism. So you can see how that comes down with that distortion of the gender law. Transgender people, they say that they don't feel like they are the assigned sex that they identify with, but it's really based off their internal feelings, their experiences, and their state of their consciousness body. And that's all defined by their gender biology, their chromosomes, their anatomy, their hormones. But a person's gender identity, the inner sense of being male or female, doesn't always match their biology. So what I'm trying to say really technically is that it's a war over their spiritual light body. And it comes down through the alien machinery, it comes down through the AI, and it's impacting their inner gender principle human being. And it's really a phenomenon because it's been taking off, and it's raised up like 40%. I think the Disney, and why is Disney looking at things like this? Like the head corporation of Disney, like the CEO, is putting out statements. Well, Gen Z is 40% more queer, you know. So it them putting out statements like this and then backing up these sorts of bills like this fully defines where they stand in this agenda.
Right. And I did see a post early, not to sidetrack you, but like Disney Plus has had like 350,000 unsubscribers. So people are knowing this now. I think it's sinking in.
Oh yeah, I unsubscribed as well.
Wow. And I never was subscribed. I don't really like pay for that kind of stuff, but I'm glad you did. Because money is how they get their power. That's how it starts their power. If we take their money away, they're going to be just like us, broke, working 2 jobs or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, exactly. But the whole thing is to basically disrupt, it's to destroy the healthy templates of our androgynous light body, because we are both masculine and feminine principles within. But they want to attack and destroy like the inner and the outer gender principles in all ways. And it's really big. And they do it in so many ways. They're doing it through grooming of our children. They're doing it through confusing people in the death process. They're doing it through obliterating the knowledge of our light body and our soul. The soul being more of a feminine structure, the monadic structure being more of a masculine principle. They're doing it through confusion of concepts with marriage and children, right? Like there's no longer like a sense of family or home, like in America, like there's all broken families. 75% of children are being grown up without, fathers in the home.
Right.
And that's a pandemic. They do it through confusing our roles. And now with the AI agenda and this transhuman agenda, they're doing it through basically blending human bodies with animal bodies. There was like a huge thing about that, like with children being like taken and blended with animals. I don't know if you've seen anything like this.
I've seen videos, and I'll tell you what, don't eat before you do it, because you're not going to eat after you see it. Yeah.
It's insidious, it's malevolent, and we need divine intervention. We really, really need divine intervention.
And we are that divine intervention, just so everybody's clear on that. Our thoughts is our divine intervention. Just kind of want to make that clear.
Yeah, absolutely. So many people really want to know, like, what can we do? How can we help this? How can we make this better? I talk to men and women all the time, daily, that are, especially divine feminines, but divine masculines too. I've equally had so many masculines step up and be like, informing me, like the women feel it. The women don't feel right in their wombs. They get random pain. They get disassociation. They get disoriented. They have severe crying spells for days on end. And you ask what's wrong or what's going on, and all they can feel is the children. That's what they feel like. What's happening to our children is putting me in this state of being.
Right.
And the men too. I've had so many divine masculines come to me and be like, they more often inform me, but they feel it too. But they're more like, this is worse than we think. We have the dumbs. We have these islands, the Maxwell family islands that were transporting children from Disney on these cruise ships to these islands. We have even in places like Fiji and Cambodia, where I guess it's like the worst in the world when it comes to what's going on with the children. It is
Africa. Huh.
Well, probably Africa too. It's a lot of places. It's not just one. But where this stuff is being ran, these pediatric rings, I'll say pediatric, it's probably a better word, and maybe we'll have some code words, pedodontia.
Right.
But
don't throw the red in there too. They're worse than anybody. Oh boy.
But this stuff is being blatantly ran in their face.
Yeah.
Because it's coming down openly from the corrupted government, allowing and not having services or programs in place to protect children. And then also at the same time, the parents being a part of the problem, because the parents are also groomed into it as well. So the parents are the groomers.
Right.
And it's just absolutely insane. I had a group grid workers meeting earlier today where we were talking about some of the same things, like how do we go about this when we do grid clearing or we do grid work? What kind of tools do we use? How can we actually make a difference when spiritually we're tuning into this stuff and we're trying to like lift the frequency? And I think my entire philosophy is that we just have to focus on raising consciousness.
I think, yeah, for sure. We have to. And, people have to help themselves, obviously, to get there. We can't force somebody to, be awake, as they call it. But if they're looking for water, they're gonna find it.
Yeah, definitely.
So what was you gonna do? Show a map or something there?
Yeah, I was. So we can pull up. Yeah, let me pull it up, because that's right. I pulled it up. Okay. I forget where I put it actually. Hang on a second.
Yeah, and that is funny you said that, though, that the topic that we're doing today is really just a small piece of the puzzle. There's so many. When you stop and think about it, you're like, oh my, they had us in our school system. They had us here. They had us there. Yeah.
Well, and it's so crazy with Disney because they have a lot of like innuendos like in the movies themselves, like the Little Mermaid, and one of the Little Mermaids, the like guy in Little Mermaid like gets a boner, in the Lion King, in the stars it spells like sex in the sky, in the Aladdin, like they have things that whisper in the background that say all good boys and good girls take off their clothes.
Yeah.
And they just put this sexual like programming, MK Ultra, basically in
It's like
the
it's like
movies.
hypnotizing somebody, really, right? I mean,
Yes, exactly. And that's how energetically and in terms of the grids, they built the dynamic kingdoms. They use, okay, so the guys that built and constructed the actual Disneyland and Orlando, is it Disney World? It's called Disney World.
yeah.
They were guys that were like CIA operatives, and they were into remote viewing, and they were into teleportation, and you know, so they firsthand probably had access to things and technologies that were done upon in the Montauk projects and things like this. And so it's the same, you know, group of people that actually built the kingdom on energetic ley lines. So they put it specifically on ley lines to draw in and funnel energy. And that's what some of the carousels are when you first go into the parks. Like the King Arthur carousel is supposed to be one of these like hypnotizing portals that is playing off of people's sacral chakra. It's playing off of their emotions. And this is how they basically incept all of this into the psyche or into the consciousness body.
That's just amazing, and not in a good way either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. It's tough because you want things to be like in your heart, you want things to be pure. Like you want things to be what you think they are. And then you come to find out more and more that it's just not the case. And it's just disappointing. It's really disappointing.
Yeah, it really is. You know, the plus side is we're definitely coming out of it. It's just the things in between there.
Yeah, right. Like we're clearing all of this, you know. So the more that it comes up, the more that it's exposed, the more that it's observed. That observation is key. We just have to observe it and decide that that is or isn't what we want. And it's sending that biofeedback system straight to the Earth's planetary field. So it's collapsing down those structures, you know, field by field, field by field.
And you know, Disney itself owns a lot more than these parks that we're talking about. I mean, good Lord, they so if you stop your subscription and all of this and start hurting their pocket, I'm telling you, they'll go bankrupt. And somebody will probably go in there and buy them, like the actor Elon's doing right now with certain things. You know what I mean? Turn them things around to a positive, like they done with CERN as well. I mean, they can reverse some polarity. They can do all kinds of things, but they kind of need our help with our thoughts. You know, spiritually, they need our help, really. If you want to speed it up, right?
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. So this is my map here. I was just looking for what I have on the 33-degree parallel really quick. So what I have here, so this is I call this my black grid. I spend a lot of time charting things because honestly, you want to know why I got so into charting? And I don't think I've ever said this on my channel before, but I'm saying it today on your channel and my channel. I chart so much because I used to be a dental assistant. I was a dental assistant for 10 years. And so I was constantly charting. And so I think that's what made me fascinated with charting things on maps.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm also, this is a cavity over here on JCO line 2. No, I'm just kidding. But this is a map of, I call it the black grid because this is where I've charted all of the J seals. And the J seals it's basically, they're seals that were handed down from the Atlantean timeline that came down from the Anunnaki, facets of the Anunnaki, the Jehovian Anunnaki. And they basically implanted hijacking codes into the selenite rods that go all along the 70-degree west horizontal ley line. Now, what's interesting about this is the more that I tune into this, I can see that these seals were actually installed into the planetary field through that 33rd degree parallel ley line. So the 33rd.
I'm trying to think if, like, I didn't know anything about the ley lines, and I know some, but obviously not as much as you. But so if you had a crystal that you carried around in your pocket and it was a certain frequency, and you took 1,000,000 of those and laid it along this line, that line is going to turn into that frequency, whatever it may be, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
I was just trying to help people that didn't understand it.
Yep, that's a good analogy of it. That's basically what they did. That's what is here. There's large selenite rods, and they encoded those selenite rods with these particular distortions. And what it is, hijacking or siphoning, is the expansion of the Dove grid light template, which is, it's basically like a higher harmonic universal energy structure, but it's kind of dormant in the North Americas because it's suppressed underneath that, in that encoding, basically. Those were installed through this 33rd degree. So this line, this red line going across the bottom, is the 30 degree, and this one above it is the 33. Between the 30 and the 33 degree parallel is where most of the major Stargate vortexes are running on the Earth. You have one in Tibet. You have this one in Abadan, Iran. That was a 10th dimensional Stargate. You have Mount Olives. This is where Jesus was actually crucified. So when we talk about installing those crucifixion wounds right into the grids, like, bam, there, they did it. And when we say install it into the grid, so it's basically like a memory field that gets encoded into the landmass and into the ley lines. And it's energy that doesn't necessarily transcend. It does transform with the times, but it's a lot of times held in timeline capsules, and that gets reactivated or repeated over and over and over again.
Yeah, kind of like this loop we've been in. Honestly, we've been in a like this for a long time here on Earth. That's how long, I don't know, but it's been horrible. I know that.
Yeah, we're reliving the fall of man over and over again, basically.
Yeah.
And then you also have Giza here as well. So that's right at the 30 degree north horizontal. And then, so the 33 parallel is at 66.6 degrees, something latitude. I had that written down somewhere. It is the 33 parallel north is a circle of latitude that is 33 degrees north of the Earth's equatorial plane. And it is at 66.6 degrees north latitude.
I think everybody clearly understands that one. They better.
Why this is connected to Disney is because, okay, these purple markers here, those ones with the stars, this is Disneyland in Anaheim, California. This is Walt Disney World in Orlando. This is Disney in Paris. This is Disney in Hong Kong, Disney in Shanghai, and Disney in Tokyo, which are the 6 largest Disneys in the world. The majority of them all running between the 30 and the 30 degree parallel across the Earth.
That's great work there. Honestly, that's great. Not great that they did it, but great that you've mapped this for everybody.
I'm telling you, as soon as you told me Disney, I was like, I'm on it. I was like, I know there's something there. Because I got that feeling like, what's interesting too about it is it forms this W. So like you see how you have the locations and then you have this like big W going across. It's almost like wings. I kind of intuitively felt bat wings. It also looks like it would be following some sort of format in the organic crystal grid matrix structure as well, because there are different types of organic grids that overlay, and that would be kind of like the structure of one, which would be kind of like a zigzag. I think it ties into like something called a Curry grid, which is running off of a radial magnetic field. They could strategically place those because they're looking to hijack or overlap that field structure. And strategically place their parks so that way they're funneling off of the energy, but also able to hijack the codes.
Yeah, and so a lot of times that's, if you think about spells, and I think most of my viewers know quite well what they are. A lot of times the white hats will reverse things like that, and that's how they undo what they did. It's very complicated, but it's not complicated.
Yeah, definitely. And they play a lot with the reversals. They want to funnel it into like reversal templating. Reversal just means anti-life. So anything that is not obviously in the highest good. So it's turning towards death, basically.
Yeah.
And so as long as it doesn't apply to them, right?
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's really interesting that the Orlando location is really almost pretty much on the entire ley line of the J seals. So there's probably a lot of hijacking and siphoning that's going on there with that. And in the body, these two here specifically would be down in the lower regions of the body. This one would be the heart and the lungs. This one would be the the rear and the left knee area, but all siphoning off of the feminine template as well, which is where the predominant percentage of the gender distortions lie.
Right, that makes sense. Yeah.
Because it's the majority of masculines that are looking to go into, becoming a woman and distorting and exploiting.
I'll say don't say ballless, because unfortunately there's a lot of men that need to definitely grow some. I will say that.
Well, it's also like that social programming. It's artificial intelligent programming, and it's also what they're feeding and estrogenizing our masculines, so that way they're weaker, they're unable to fight, they're unable to actually hold any sort of sufficient type of job or growth in their life. I noticed that's one thing that happens to a lot of estrogenized men is they can't hold jobs. So most of them are feeding off of women or whatever it is. If they're not in balance with their hormones, with their estrogen and their testosterone, they're not able to live adequate, healthy lives that they're functional and that they can stand and protect their families, not even have families, right? They're turning into women themselves. They want to be women now.
Right.
And that for me is it's a problem, because what happens when it comes to creation laws, when you have these men with these artificial wombs and they're birthing children through artificial portals. It's not okay. Like that's divine intervention.
That is not okay.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what we talk a lot about, the humankind, and then there's mankind. There is two different things there, and we try to explain them quite well.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty basic. I mean, gosh.
Yeah. But it's not just divine masculines. It's also young women. They say the biggest transgender boom is in young women as well. And it's really come, they said, like a 20% increase because of
the confusion and
because of the lockdowns, and because of young teen girls being depressed and having no friends and not able to talk to people, and all they see on the internet is this ideal, well, it's your what's wrong with you is your gender. There's no other solution, there's no other option, there's no other talking about it, or that's the problem, you see. And it's the steep programming that's coming down, and again, Disney is exploiting all of this.
Oh yeah, and they made it very clear, and they're not scared to say it, right?
Yeah.
Hurt their pocketbook.
Exactly. Hashtag boycott Disney. That's what it is.
That is a good one. They won't get none of my money, I promise that. So
I'll just show you this chart, because this is the other one that I have. So this one is my fallen dragon grid. I call it a fallen dragon grid because it's basically a control template that's running anti-reversals into the fallen systems. It's coming down through certain factions of the Dracos, the Omicron factions, the Necromatron factions, the Borgia factions, and some of the Orion Draco groups, and also some of the hybridizations with the Anunnaki Dracos as well. So you can kind of see how does this kind of look like a dragon to you?
Sure does.
You have China outlined in red. This is the head of the dragon. Comes down to Indonesia, which is the claw. The spine runs up to the, what do they have? This is
Right.
the parts of the United Kingdom, the Welsh part of the United Kingdom.
Right to Ukraine, of course.
Right, yep.
Ironically.
And then the tail goes to the California Silicon Valley.
And we already know about that one. That's
And so
wild.
why I caught on to this, and I'm like, well, I feel like Disney is running through the Fallen Dragon templating, because you look at the locations, I have them in white on this one, but they are all within the dragon templating. And you have 3 of these locations in the head of the dragon. So this would be head of operations over here.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. That ain't counting what they got underground, but it's just connecting some dots that we can see, kind of, right?
Yeah, basically. Now, not all of the like dragon stuff is necessarily negative. Like this, if there's a fallen template, like there is a light template as well. A lot of the light aspects to the dragon templating would come through a lot of like the Chinese dragons. It would come through the celestial dragons, the spiritual dragons. There's also positives, underground dragons, winged dragons, dragon ley lines. So there are, you know, like light matrices that do like oppose these fallen type of things as well.
Hey, you explain that very well, because if there's darkness, there's lightness to match it, you know.
Yeah, and this is just, you know, but we go after the darkness. So this is what we're exposing here is
Yes.
how it's running off of the fallen dragon templating.
Yeah.
So it's really about archontic deception behavior. It's how they're trying to basically set up humanity for lifelong serious addiction programs, like through their hypnotizing escapism programs, fantasy programs. And they do it through triggering all of this deep emotional responses to these childhood reversal splitter events. It's kind of like, because when you go in those parks or you go in those kingdoms, you know, everything in terms of your abandonment, your rejection, your abuse, all of these things get filled with the hope of what Disney provides. And it's just another way that they create this feel-good energy. But that's what they're siphoning off of, is that feel-good energy. This is what's at the core of this dragon. That's what's running the belly of the beast.
Yeah, and it even makes me think, okay, so if this football team wins the Super Bowl, where do they go? Think about that one. Yeah. There's so many people involved in this, and so many, I shouldn't call them people, entities. That would be a better word, actually.
Yeah, definitely. It's well, it goes all the way back to, it's like becoming, it goes back to like cannibalism, like draconian, a lot of draconian measures, cannibalisms, because the Dracos are the ones that are known for consuming their own offspring. They're the ones known for experimenting on their own offspring, and they're the ones that are known for consuming the adrenaline blood of their offspring. And it goes back to, you know, Satanism, it goes back to the Vatican, it goes back to religion, it goes back to the Dagon, and it goes back to the Cthulhu. which is this monstrous dragon squid-like being, which is a primordial hybridized form of the Draco energy, the Draco intelligence field here that exists at the bottom of the Pacific Ocean. And so I'm like, can someone just go into the Pacific and just like slay the Cthulhu and we'll just be done with this already?
Wouldn't that be amazing?
But I feel like they're trying, this is becoming a cultural normal in a draconian world. And it's a world that people don't know which way is up or down. People don't know what the heck their truth is. We're technically living in an age of knowing no truths.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah.
The only truth you can get for sure right now is within you. I mean, that's honestly, that's sad to say, right? I mean,
yeah.
trust your gut.
I go by the saying that natural law is the only law.
Yeah, I like it. That's the truth.
And so, yeah, I think that's when people say like, how do we turn this around? How do we make this better? How do we work on this? Like we have to reinstall the natural law. We have to reinstall these parts of ourselves and these systems back into the organic matrices and let those restore and heal us, from the organic crystal caverns all the way to the waterfalls, and just ignite that spirit within to be able to shift that energy. But unfortunately, the majority of the collective is pretty damaged. Going back to the Georgia Guidestones.
I say dumb down, but I don't necessarily mean that, like putting people down. It just, that's where we're at.
Yeah.
They've dumbed us down.
Well, I think it goes back to the Georgia Guidestones too. Like you have that 500 million. What was the first thing it says? Their 500 million will be
eliminated, or
yeah. I was speculating with Rex Bear the other day that 500 million actually means that there's actually only 500 million indigos, empaths, and purebloods left on the planet. And I kind of feel like that would be closer to the truth at this point.
Yeah. That makes sense though, really. Yeah, a lot of people came here for this time on, I know it's crazy, but we agreed to come here. So here we are. Fun, right?
Yeah.
And he was talking about how we can fight. I mean, honestly, I can sit in my living room and I can put a bright white light around my house just with my thoughts. Just envision that you're doing it and the white light's protecting your house. And then you can go out further from there. We've actually done a lot of guided meditation for Africa and the Dumbs, and we've done a lot of things that some people don't do. So I don't really talk about them too much, but we've done a lot. And basically you're fighting in the spiritual world pretty much. And when they see you coming with that white light, honestly, they're like this because they know they're screwed. They know. As soon as they see you, they know that you ain't playing around.
Yeah, definitely. There's so much we can be doing to strengthen our field, to upgrade our field. I think honestly, really at a core, I mean, there's so many things. I mean, this list is extensive, but I think
you can touch on some of it.
Yeah, sure. Some of the things would be your physical health, your overall physical health. That's one thing that I think for a long time I held in separation through my spiritual journey, was like, as long as I'm spiritually aligned, who cares what's happening to my body? And like, but I realized like the more I didn't pay attention to that and the more I let my health go on things, like the harder I actually got to regenerate where I wanted to be spiritually and things like this. So I think really focusing on your health.
What's the first thing you did? Like looking at your health, what kind of things did you do that you said, this is enough of this or that or whatever?
I realized that I wasn't getting nutrition from my food, and I was having a lot of draining symptoms that I was associating or chalking up to ascension symptoms. Also, saying a lot of it was like EMF and radiation exposure, which it probably is. Don't get me wrong, that's still happening.
Yeah.
But it was really, really bad. I was having a hard time recovering. I would be like sick for like 2 weeks at a time. And so I just started really paying attention to like my nutrition value and like my vitamins. And I noticed that indigos and empaths need to take higher magnesium and also like silica. They have to restore a lot of the minerals that are through negative agendas are actually manipulated and stored in the Earth's field, which magnesium and silica are probably one of
That's the one.
two.
I don't remember hearing much about the silica, but obviously magnesium, yeah. Which ties into you like being dehydrated in a sense too, right? With the magnesium.
Exactly. And then with being so inundated with EMF and electromagnetic
Well, I'm
radiation.
always dehydrated, isn't it? Yeah, one of the reasons.
Because it's depleting your minerals. That's what it's doing.
Right.
Depleting your minerals. So yeah, restoring your minerals, doing like a mineral complex that you take. Also restoring of your amino acids, because amino acids are what repair the DNA. So what's happening too, and what can get confusing is you think you're having a lot of ascension symptoms, which you probably are, but what's happening is your carbon is breaking down and you're becoming more crystalline basis. There does come a point where that actually starts to deteriorate you even more. There has to be a moderation and a balance in that. I found that because I was on this trip for like 5 years where like, my carbon's breaking down and becoming more crystalline structures. I'm like, oh, this is great, and I was having so many spiritual experiences. But in involuntary spiritual experiences where I was just coming out of my body and when I was driving down the street, I mean, that's actually gets scary. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I had a really good friend of mine tell me about something called taking carbon C60, which is where you actually take the carbon molecule and you repair your carbon to a certain degree.
Wow. Yeah, and I know a lot of people talk about the lemon and water and what that does, helps you become more alkaline and stuff like that. That's pretty basic stuff, I guess.
Yeah, alkalining, yeah, things like that. Absolutely, 100%.
But you got to watch what water. I mean, are you drinking well water? Are you drinking the city water that's got all this crap in it? I mean,
yeah. Yeah, and that's another thing. It's getting so hard for people to get good water too,
And I have well water at one of my properties, and I'll be honest with you, I think about it too, because they can contaminate what's in the ground just as easy as they can contaminate the city water. Well, maybe not as easy, but for them people or them things, nothing. They'll do anything to kill us. They don't care what it is.
Yeah. Basically, I mean, it's from every direction, every which way. I mean,
Food, water, air. So is there anything else with the Disney that you like brought attention that you might want to share, or you want to stick on the health part, or?
Let me see here with Disney. I think another thing about Disney was they had, Walt Disney was a Freemason. So obviously inside the parks, they have that Club 33. And it's basically where a lot of insidious things actually happen in the parks themselves. I mean, at some of the places, people have known to be murdered,
Kidnapped.
Kidnapped. People go there to spread their ashes. There's all kinds of stuff going down in that Club 33 behind closed doors. They don't let anybody in there in those Club 33.
I wonder how people get access. You got to be a member or something, I guess.
Yeah, I don't even know how you would get the membership. Maybe it costs a lot of money. Maybe you have to know somebody. Maybe you have to have a Freemason handshake to get in the door.
I bet.
Yeah. So
we'll find out.
So Masonic templing is running inside the parks. So that's kind of, it's definitely a big deal. I guess Walt Disney himself was from the Rosy Cross, so he was a founder of the Rosicrucian order as well.
I did not know that. That's interesting.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I didn't know that either till the other day.
Another one I say interesting, but I don't mean that in a good way. I'm just like, Yeah, you can't cuss
Another,
every other word, right?
yeah. Another thing about it too is the architecture inside the park itself, I guess, has been drawn from Babylonian times. So like the walls and some of the gates that they hold, and even some like the castle drawings and stuff, it comes from Babylonian architecture, which means that the Babylonian timelines would be running there. So
Right.
it's just, oh, and also I guess Disney Park has been known as a gateway too for a lot of just malevolent extraterrestrials, like
I
a
was gonna ask you, was there a Stargate there that you knew of, or a portal? I'm sure there's portals.
let me see here. In terms of portals, the only portals that I would know would be some of the major portals is down here in Florida. There is a Stargate in Sarasota, Florida. That would be probably the closest one to this gate system or to the park itself. I don't have it marked on here, but this is also very close to the Bermuda Triangle as well.
Ironically, right? Yeah.
And with that 33-degree parallel, let's say this yellow line here is the 33-degree parallel, it's running codes, it's running patriarchal demon seed codes, basically. PDSs is what I like to call them. And it runs the king of tyranny. Again, all of the energy that's locking down those J seals into the planetary grids, into the planetary fields, into people's biology, which is holding what I'm calling revelation seals. Revelation seals would be the belief that your ending is going to end in destruction or ruin. That holds a giant field over the earth, basically a fear capsule over the earth, right?
Yeah.
And that's held down through the majority of the collective, the majority of the Anunnaki collective that was descended down from the 3 Abrahamic religions. Also, you know, the Templaric seals, it keeps the Templar seals in place, which keeps everybody in the living walking around tied to with energetic etheric cords to harvesting stations where they are feeding off of your light body, simply just based upon a generational implant that came down. So there's like these ancestral cords that come down with all of this as well. I don't have this. Oh, I don't have the seals with this one. You know, also the crucifixion, the patriarchal demon seeds, the king of tyranny codes that runs the persecution codes and the crucifixion codes into the grids and into everybody's biology. All of this is, you know, inner working into the happenings of Disney, but it's all interconnected. It really hosts the belief that one's not connected to source. Again, it's a park that promotes that you're going there to get a high, you're going there to play off of your childhood emotions, and again, creating those fantasy worlds and these disillusionment worlds that pull people away from their own gnosis and their own connection to the divine and to source itself.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, they're pretty slick at what they've done for sure. Fear and all this. I think most of the ones that are what you say awake, I don't know if that's even the right term to use, but let's just say aware, they understand the fear and stuff now. So I mean, people like us, we're not scared of anything. I mean, what the hell we scared? What is there to be scared of? Nothing.
yeah, that's exactly how I am too. I don't live in the fear timelines.
No.
That's why I can be a spiritual detective.
Right.
Is because I'm
No
not
fear.
afraid. I'm not afraid. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And if people think like that, I haven't been attacked like in the astral world, yes, I have. Did I make it through it? Absolutely. You know, cuss words are strong there too, you know. Get the F out
Yeah.
of here because I'm not putting up
Yeah.
with your bullshit. It does work.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that's what I was saying. When I came home from the Georgia Guidestones, I was attacked maybe like 5 times in the astral that night, the next night when I
Wow.
was trying to sleep. Oh, yeah. I had some sort of incubus type
Wow.
entities that came into my room. And you know that feeling when you're starting to fall asleep and you literally get jolted because you can't breathe, someone's sitting on your chest, and then you can see like entities through the shadow and it like alarms you.
Yep.
That happened like 5 or 6 times. And
Did you
just
just like
from
get the F out of here? I mean, is that how you kind of handled it?
I I just worked through it. I was too tired that night. I was too tired. But in the next morning, I realized, what was happening. And so I did some clearing and, just cleared my field as best I could. I'm very well aware of what they can and can't do, or how they can and can't hijack you. And so I know anything that's coming through holds you technically just in a capsule, if anything. It's really feeding off of your fear, period, basis.
Right.
So if you don't hold that fear, it can't really actually hold you captive in any way.
Yeah, and it really can't do no harm to you at that point if you have no fear. And if basically you're a warrior that has no fear. I mean, that's the bottom line. Most of us are warriors, and some just don't know it yet. You're going to find out you are a warrior.
Oh yeah. The ascension cycles alone are going to put you through tumultuous expansion and contraction of your field. And that's going to constantly change you. It's going to constantly collapse your DNA. It's going to constantly rewrite your genetic design. Even you're constantly genetically actually changing and shifting. You're evolving on such a rapid rate. And that process alone of what you're becoming is going to build you. It's going to build you. It's going to break you. It's going to build you. It's going to break you. And it's a never-ending process in ascension, for sure.
Yeah, and some are saying it like some of this we won't remember. I honestly, I don't see myself forgetting some of this stuff because it's pretty horrific, and I think it needs to be handed down what they've done so it doesn't happen again as well.
Yeah, I can agree to that. It's all about, I feel like it's about getting the information out, using your voice. If you discover something, you decode something, no matter how crazy it sounds, put it out there.
Yeah.
Because it's a field of consciousness. It's a field of intelligence that is either birthing itself or it's a current that is reaching its destination.
Yeah, I like that. Honestly, I think even my wife, she kind of holds back sometimes, and I'm telling her, just say what you're thinking, just say it. Anybody can say that, just say it. It doesn't matter how stupid it sounds, just say it. You put that energy with your words, whatever it may be.
Exactly. But that itself is a part of, I feel, the J seal distortions, because we have all these seals in the throat on the feminine side. So your vulnerable side, your emotional side, the part of you that wants to speak up and stand for yourself and say, no, I'm going to set boundaries. No, I'm going to do what I feel is right for me. No, I'm not going to sacrifice myself and put somebody else before me. All of this stuff is they try to limit you here, and they try to remove your ability to communicate that. And
that's interesting. You talked about the throat chakra because that's so important. Every word you speak comes through there. Every thought does too, but that's a different ballgame. But energy is everything, and we are energy. We are everything, ain't we?
We're pretty infinite, multidimensional beings, that is for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think my biggest thing for me out of everything that we talked about today is just wanting to defend the children, wanting to stand up for parents and support parents that are actually finally speaking up and out against these things, kind of taking a step back and a step forward.
They really are.
Yeah.
Yeah. And hopefully the more that do it, the more that follow, kind of, sort of, right? I mean, that's how it's going to work.
Yeah. I think we're going to see in the future, we're going to see an entire rehabilitation program for people who were wrongfully or victimized by gender confusion, gender identity, gender distortion. I mean, we already see a lot of that happening already. We need to promote self-love and not think that everything that you feel is wrong with you means that something in your gender is distorted. And, repair and restore the divine masculine and divine feminine principles on this earth, and respect the creational law. This is a creation law. This is a universal law. Gender law is a universal law. everything that has come into an existence has had to come through a masculine and a feminine principle.
Right.
Except back prior to the time, back to the motherlands of Mu, and even before that, before, you know, there was a human dissension that happened on this earth, before there was a division of the sexes. This was something that I talked about before, was that this might be something what we're seeing, but this is artificial. This isn't organic because it's coming through AI. That this is pushing us into this transhumanism, pushing us into singularity of sexes. And that's where this is coming through. But this is an artificial based timeline and template and distortion and program that's running. So it's.
Yeah, we've looked at the timelines. We describe them as this, all of them just, you know, it gets pretty deep when you start looking at the different things. And, you know, the people that are here helping that are time travelers. And this goes very deep, you know.
Yeah.
Tesla wasn't no joke, you know.
Speaking of Tesla.
Love it. Yeah, go ahead.
I guess in the Disney park, how the guy, I can't remember the name of the guys who built the Disney park, but the ones that are saying were CIA and into remote viewing, and they had Tesla technology, and that's how they made the carousels the way that they did to hypnotize and use this energy, is because they used the Tesla coils in the carousels in the Disney parks.
Yeah, and they do the same thing under stadiums. So don't, you know, let's not let everybody be fooled here. This is everywhere. Airports, stadiums where people gather, all these places, they've harnessed our energy. Basically, you can call them vampires of energy and blood, unfortunately, but it is what it is. That's what they've done to us.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's all about maintaining your God sovereign freedom, right? If you know who you are, then you cannot be manipulated. It's all about knowing who you are. Yeah.
Now, some of the regression readings you do for people, that is some of the things you do, right? With individuals.
Yes. So you can find my stuff.
I put all of your links in the YouTube, what's it say? YouTube, where you click on it and it says description. It's got a little tab on it, and it's got I put your donation thing there and the current services at indigo222.com. And I put them all in there for you. 13-dimensional chakra clearings. That's the kind of stuff you do.
Yeah. So I just pulled it up on my website here.
Yeah,
so
you can share it if you want. I don't care.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. I was like, it would be easier just to pull it up so that way you could see, but I have my services tab. I offer the 13-dimensional chakra clearing. It's where we would go up into the 12th dimensional field together and interactively and systematically, psychologically, emotionally, and spiritually work our way down through each dimensional field, see what you hold within that field, and work to remove, work to clear it, work to alchemize it, use tools, bring in light into the field. You know, there's a lot of things we do. Sometimes we move things around. Sometimes we realize, you know, a distortion that is hanging from the 12th dimensional field is all the way down, you know, affecting in the 10th dimensional field and in the heart chakra or in the throat chakra. So we dismantle where things are not serving the highest good. And we just really clear the template, clear the field. I have the J seal removal as well. So I'll go in and systematically remove all of the implants and seals that I was talking about that were on the grid, that are in the planetary field, that are also based in the biology.
Yeah.
And so I have that. I have the Draco seal removal as well, which is another set of seals and distortions that just ride on a different timeline. They are more geared towards obviously what the Dracos are doing. So has a lot to do with Vatican implants and seals, monarchy implants and seals, things that were placed during the Nazi timeline, the Thuls, the Vril technology, all of that. So we would remove that out of the field. I only recommend that session for people that I guess are really ready for it, maybe have had a J cell removal and you know, are just aware of what seal removal is like, and also maybe more aware of what these types of distortions would mean or represent And you usually know if you need something like that if you get a lot of attacks. Like if somebody's under a lot of spiritual attack, I say do the Draco steel removal.
Yeah.
I have the AMP session as well. So my advanced avatar master practices, and this is where I would work one-on-one with somebody to assist them with getting the technology to do things like remote viewing and grid keeping technology, all of this stuff. So I do that in that session. And then the Atlantean special. So this is what I did, a coupon code for your channel. So everyone who's watching, yeah, I have a 10% off this package. You just put in Patriot Dave, all lowercase, all one word. And this package gets you a Starseed origin reading, 30 minutes to go over your origin chart. And then also you can choose from a J seal, a Draco seal, or a chakra clearing. And
Yeah,
so it's kind of like the Cadillac package, but it is a really, really good package if you're looking to do some deep work. So yeah, that's basically it.
But you like do this full time. So like me, I don't. I run 2 small businesses. So I don't need anything. I survive. So I don't do anything for me, but it's different for somebody that's trying to put food on their table. And people misconstrue that, there's a difference if, yeah, information's free, but somebody's time is valuable. And especially if it's the right person.
Yeah, absolutely. I really do my best to fully invest my energy in whoever chooses to come and do that type of work with me, because I do understand that energy exchange and I really do give my all to it. And yeah, just really make sure that I always give a very, very good session for my clients and those who come to work with me.
Yeah, and if you want next video, we can dip into the SSP thing. I don't really care. Some things you may know more than me. I can only know what I kind of seen with my own eyes. So it's pretty wild.
That'd be really interesting to me. I've been very curious on what's going down in Antarctica. I know that's kind of like at the core of a lot of the SSP stuff.
Yeah, and the moon and Mars and it's all over. I think a lot of it's been taken over now. But I wouldn't say everything has, like some people's been saying. And how they make clones off of us, it goes so deep. It's crazy.
Yeah,
it's crazy the things they've done. And that was all what I call the dark fleet, although there may have been some on the light side. Of course, I never seen them because everything we seen was on the dark side. I mean, like you said, that's what we're here for, to drag out the dark. I mean, set them out in the light, and they're going to do this. I mean, that's how it's going to be. I've seen it in Astro more than once. I mean, they freak the hell out when they see you coming. They know they're in deep shit. It's crazy. So,
well, it's such a stripping of what they also hold as comfort. Like they're comfortable in corruption. So if you're to pull them out of that corrupted state of existence, it's going to be complete meltdown for sure.
And even these politicians, that's only a small piece. I mean, that's how they got a lot of our money, was from the top, of course. But I mean, that's only a small part of what's really happened here. This is way beyond politician stuff.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's parasitic. It's and that was something that's been coming up a lot that I've been wanting to talk about, is how this is bacterial or this is viral or this is parasitic versus maybe so much as what our way of thinking has been, that it's the Dracos or it's the Anunnaki, that there is like a dark existence of a parasite that just exists in all species, all genetics, all lineages, all kinds, and that it doesn't actually pertain to anything more so than the other, that it is within everything. And I think, I don't know, that might be a mentality shift or a change in looking at things that could be a key to cure, the cauldron of cure in renewal and hope.
Yeah, it's funny because as soon as you say Draco, everybody's automatically assuming dark, but there's light and dark in everything. And obviously we're seeking the darkness out so we can get it the hell out of here. But yeah, and I wonder where all of them entities going to go, like when they're ran completely out of here and out of our solar system. I I kind of wonder in my mind, where the hell they go after that? You know, they make up their own universe and go somewhere else, I guess.
Or yeah, or they just implode into quantum space dust.
Well, if you throw them in black hole and shut the lid, where do they go? The same place, right?
Yeah, yeah,
That,
basically.
that works, people, you know. Throw them in a black hole and slam the lid on their head and get the hell out of here. It works. I know it sounds crazy, but it works.
Yeah.
And anything else then?
So that's pretty much all I have on for Disney today. I'm sure I'm going to come up with more on this, to be honest with you, because I am still actually working on it.
Oh, I bet there's a lot. Yeah.
There's so much more here, but it kind of unfolds for me in levels and layers. And
Yeah.
I'm kind of onto the first layer right now that I shared with you. But if
That
I
was
get
a
more that
lot.
comes up with Disney, I'll definitely well, you know what it is with the parental aspect of it is I did a video maybe last month, and it was called the Cygnus Supernova Blast, 3 days of light. And I was talking about this emergence of the new Swan grid light template, which is the light matrix to the 144,000 in the Earth's field, in the Earth's grid. And what comes with the rising of this light templating is the dismantling of the hybridization traumas. And so when I talk about us clearing this darkness or clearing this parasitic invasion or clearing whatever, bacteria from Venus, I don't know what it is, right?
Yeah.
It's coming through clearing of our traumas. We've all been traumatized through hybridization, and certain percentages of our DNA are carrying these codes or these pain bodies. And so with the rising of that light templating, that's one thing that's on the way out, is the removal of these distortions, these traumas, this weight and this burden that we carry as a collective. And so that's what I think we're seeing with these parents pushing back with this Disney bill, is this is a rising of that light. It is a glimmer, a glimpse of hope, where parents are stepping into their parental roles.
Right. Like they should have been.
Mm-hmm. And that's the rising of guardian consciousness. And that is another parallel or ripple off of the 144,000 expansion into the Earth's field.
And I think outside the box a lot. And for this attention to come to this bill, I think was to bring attention to it partly, but the evil is so naive and so cocky, I guess is the right word.
Ignorant.
Ignorant. Yeah.
Ignorant.
It's like they're not catching on that we know what the hell's going on now, or they just think they can get by with it like they used to. I don't know. It's very interesting though. But so many things are happening, and it's like, God, I knew that, but now it's on wherever, Fox or whoever, all these fake channels. It's like they're putting it out there. It's just in a different way than we'd like them to. You know, it's pretty amazing. No, it's happening finally.
Yeah, there has been a new surgence, I feel like, even into the mainstream of a lot of exposing things that could have been more considered conspiracy and swept up under the rug. And
even
now it's being
stuff. It's all over the news now. Oh, so and so got arrested for pedophilia or whatever the case was. You know, not that I watch news, but I do watch the ticker sometimes to see what the hell's going on in their world, not mine. You know.
Yeah. Well, now that we got the Maxwell family out the way, they were kind of like they were like the hand coming down.
Oh yeah.
You know? So now they're going to be going after more of the celebrities, more of, the politicians that, are part of these Peta Doncha cataclysmic type things in the timelines. And
well, most of the actors I'd never see them now anyway. And actually the politicians, you don't see the original ones. I don't know if everybody sees what I see, but there's some funny stuff going on there. Politicians, actors, actresses, whatever you want to call them. Yeah,
Yeah, that's right. You got on at the beginning where it said Putin the actor. I was like,
yes.
okay, I got you. I see you.
Now, I mean, is that his brother or whatever? I don't know. I don't really care. I'm just, you can just tell it's not him. I mean, oh God, it's like people really think this is him. I'm like, go look at a picture from, 7, 8 years ago. And while we get a little fatter, your bone structures in your face don't change, people. I'm sorry. Your earlobes don't change. It's just things you have to start looking for. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, how about the next show? We'll pick up whatever Disney stuff you found out, and then we'll hit some SSP. And a lot of people want to know about Antarctica. I've done some stuff on it, but God, it goes so deep. Oh,
It does go so deep, but I feel like it's coming. It's it's definitely coming.
the ice is melting. Wow, 70 degrees above normal. Whoa, something the hell's going on there. And I mean, we know the bases are there and all this. We know there's an ice wall. Most of us know some stuff there. But I honestly, I think we know like that much of the whole picture. We really know nothing, right? Hmm.
Yeah, there it's just a little bit of the sliver of what we can see. There was oh, I can't remember her name, but there was a lady who put out a really good Antarctica decode, and she was talking about the shapes of the bases down there,
Oh
how
wow.
they're all octagonal. Something Molden. I can't remember her
Huh.
name.
I'm
Ah,
sure they
I feel like
I'm sure
it's
somebody's already telling us it's so and so,
yeah, yeah. I wish I could see the chat.
Oh yeah,
um
I guess you can't because it's on YouTube, huh? Yeah.
but what is her name? Linda Molden, maybe, or something. Yeah, but
That's possible.
she's talking about the octagonal shaped bases, how it
Mm,
pertains to the octagonal group,
yeah.
the Khazarians, the 13 bloodlines, all of that stuff. Um, and
Yeah.
also the neutrino technology that they have going on, where they are um, messing with the smallest atomic scale of energy to create laser beams. And that's how they're doing a lot of the like
So a center like
manipulation.
CERN, kind of sort of similar.
Yeah, yeah. But it's where they're, experimenting in the ice to create these things, shooting off the like lasers to activate. That's what they said the La Palma volcano was.
Yeah.
Um, ignited from was something that was coming down from the Antarctica base and field down there from the technology and weather manipulation and all the stuff that they're doing there.
Oh
So
yeah. There's
yeah,
so much.
there's so much. Antarctica is just it's a whole nother deep dive for sure.
Yeah, then the
But
ice to melt, like you have to keep it so cold it'll like evaporate out of your hand and not even be water, like totally evaporate. So it means it's high in oxygen. So, was it being made? Some of it probably was the walls, I'm guessing. Or they use some kind of AI or something to do it. Hell, I don't know. But yeah, we'll dig into it sometime.
yeah.
I'm game to dig on anything that they try to hide from us. I'm game. I don't care what it is, really. If it's truth,
Awesome.
I'm all for it.
Well, I'm down with another truther, that's for sure. So I'd love to do another show with you sometime.
Yeah,
Um,
we'll work on a schedule.
whenever I get a deep decode ready, I'll definitely shoot the information to you as well and see if you want
Okay.
to cover it. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Okay.
yeah, I'll email you and we'll get on the schedule. And I appreciate everybody coming on. I haven't even looked at the comments because I was in that zone. So if I look at the comments, it messes with my energy. So I didn't really look this time. So I'm
Yeah, thank you. I want to say thank you to everybody watching as well. And you can find me on my channel at IndigoAngel. And then I also wanted to say too, if you are looking to get in on group grid work where we are actually and strategically working on these grid templates and trying to restore things back into the organic grid system, I do everything, and I host group grid sessions at my patreon.com/IndigoAngel. My next one will be on next Tuesday at 6 o'clock. So you got to get
is
in
that
to get.
free? That's a free thing there to try to help?
It's on my lowest. You can get into it on my lowest tier, which is 11.11 a month. But it is well worth it because you have access to all of my video series, which is self Draco seal removal videos, self J seal removal videos. So let's say you can't afford the sessions, 11.11 a month gets you access to all of the information to remove them yourself. Also, all kinds of energy mechanic visualizations that I have video series for. Learning all of this information. And then also I host group meetings once a month where you come together with like-minded people and we discuss intel, we discuss what's going on, and then we host the group grid sessions. And then a new thing that I'm launching starting next month is I'm going to actually start teaching grid work as well. So if you get on my highest tier, that class will be also a part of your package or your membership benefits. So I'll be starting with teaching intro to grid work, teaching about like all of the fundamentals. So that way people are like, huh, what's grid work? How does she know all this information? How is she doing all this stuff? I'm going to start teaching it from an intro level. So
It gets pretty deep for sure. And it's not something you just learn overnight. I mean, we know it all subconsciously and, that's a whole different ball game,
Yeah, there's lots of books if you're interested in grid work. I just got some new ones, which I haven't really had a chance to read yet, but geomancy, earth grids, ley lines, feng shui. This one is really, I ordered this one because there's a lot of good deep dive information in it on about the Chinese dragons and stuff like that I was kind of talking about in today's update. And then just a bunch of grid worker stuff, the sacred network, megaliths, cathedrals. If you guys could only see my desk right now, you can only see this part, but my desk is like, it's not good. But
neither is mine.
yeah,
So how
I
far
mean,
do you think that the dragons go back? I mean, I know we can say thousands of years comfortably, but would you go as far as to say millions?
oh yeah, it's possible. It's possible.
Yeah.
I think it would go back historically back into the Thuban constellation, which is the Draco constellation. I've always given the date when I've talked about it in the past, 500,000 years in terms of human incarnation and human experimentation. But I definitely think that their existence here was a part of the universal creation of this entire, planetary system. And so, yeah, absolutely, especially on an energetic level, for sure.
Yeah, and people have to, the physical versus that. I mean, it gets very deep. Just keep asking questions, people. Trust me, just keep asking questions.
Yep, keep searching, keep growing, keep aligning yourself to your gnosis. And don't put all your faith in any one spiritual healer, any one spiritual guru, any one spiritual prophet. No matter how much knowledge or amazing things they've done, still hold your gnosis as the highest. I mean, that's the key to all of this, and that's how you stay God sovereign and free.
Yeah, and I'm careful not to name off people, but there is some bullshit truthers. But honestly, they're probably bullshit truthers that I've listened to in the past when I needed to listen to them. And while I've moved on, they still may be helping somebody. I mean, I get there's different levels of this, just because you don't resonate with somebody, just don't follow them. That's pretty simple, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you're right. Everybody's kind of serving a purpose in the chink in the chain. You know what I mean?
That's what I was trying to say. I mean, just because that person doesn't work for me right now, it may work for her or him for a while. I don't know. We're all doing our own thing. So whatever's working for you, keep doing it. That's all I can say, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I appreciate it, and I appreciate everybody. I'll check out the chat after the video, of course, and I'll email you, and we'll work on a schedule for maybe a few weeks down the road or something.
Yeah, sure. That'd be great. I'd love to come on and discuss more with your viewers, and just keep expanding consciousness. Absolutely.
That is the key for sure. So I guess I'm going to end it there. I thank